Hi guys, so today I'm in Bromley, in Orpington actually, and I'm here at, you can see there's a bit of a protest going on, and I'm here at the Orpington Conservative Club where they're having a little bit of a conference regarding ULEZ, and I've actually been invited to sit in on one or two panels, but in addition to that, I wanted to find out what has been happening with these vans where people have had some kind of altercations with the people that are running the vans or running the security around the vans, and hopefully I'll get to talk to one or two people here and find out what actually has been going on and what happened to them and what's happening going forward. So we'll do all of that right after this.
Is about how we got here, and I believe that I've got Howard and Brown Car Guy, Shazai, better known as Brown Car Guy, coming to answer some questions on it.
And for businesses it was even worse, because vans, it's almost impossible to get a ULEZ compliant van at the moment, you know, and the premium on them is just ridiculous. So it hit everybody at the worst possible time. And the whole notion that, oh, it's a success because we've driven people into newer cars, well, you haven't, because I know a lot of people, I know in Northwest London, I see a lot of cars that just parked up now. And people literally, they have their cars, they're just not using them. You know, like me, like my car is like mostly, I used to use it 3-4 times a week now. I use it once a week at most now. So, I mean, that's what's happened. And then it isn't that people have changed, it's that they've stopped using them, because that's what you've done. The idea that you're changing people, transitioning people by force into cleaner cars is not necessarily true, because the supply network just isn't there. The industry just isn't producing the cars quick enough. They simply cannot. If you talk about changing the entire UK car park is what, 40 plus million cars. Okay, and a good year in terms of sales in the UK, you will sell 1 million vehicles. We have 1 million electric cars or so at the moment in the UK. You're looking at another 39 years to rotate the entire car vehicle park over to electric. So it's just physically not possible. And if you said to, no, we force everybody to do it, can you imagine the damage you will do to the climate if you want to replace 40 million vehicles with electric vehicles? You know, nothing against electric vehicles. I love them. I review them all the time. I'm not anti-EV. But I think it should be a natural transition. People should move into a car that suits their needs, not because they're forced into it. Here. There's a whole other discussion about CO2. You know, as a country, 330 million tons from the UK, 11 billion tons from China. You know, you stop me driving my BMW, is it going to make a jot of difference to the climate? Yeah, that's what it is.
Say this is all for the environment. It's not. He's saying, oh, it's about NOx, it's about NOx, it's about clean air. And as I've pointed out many times before, when you move a city car to the countryside, it's going to do more miles, it's going to pollute more. So, as you say correctly, it's emotive. It's how do we get the emotions? How do we make people...
It's a very powerful argument, but as you know, the videos that I did with the air quality meters, you know, which did go viral for a bit. And I think that, you know, I show this like, well, if you're talking about making it cleaner in outer London, how much cleaner can you get when I got maximum readings of 5, and that's on a scale of 0 to 500? I mean, like, how much lower can you get? Brown car guy. Hi there, tell me who you are and tell me about the incident that happened at, what was it, Buckhurst Road, you said?
Yes, it's on the junction of Grays Road to Westram Hill, which is actually on the boundary line of the ULEZ zone.
And you are?
I'm Claire Dyer.
And who was involved in that incident?
A friend of mine, Heather, who is a peaceful protester, 63 years of age. She lives on that road, so she had arrived with her husband, who she cares for, just to stand there and block the camera with her ULEZ sign.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, this has been going on a lot recently. There's been lots of vans around, and people have been dressing up as dinosaurs and all this sort of stuff, you know. And it's generally, you know, I suppose good-natured. People are just trying to stop the cameras from, you know, and legally there's nothing that says they can't do that. So that's quite fair. So what happened in this particular case?
I actually arrived late. I'm normally first on the scene there with my board, and then obviously others arrive, but I happened to...
So does the van come there regularly?
They're there every day. They come every day to different. They have specific locations that they go to, which obviously we know it's always the same set locations within Biggin Hill. So probably about 6, 7 different locations.
All right.
We normally get the heads up as they're coming into Biggin Hill, so we can normally find them before they've even parked up, or we've got to them before they've set their cameras up. The police have told us, yes, it is our legal right to protest as long as we don't touch the vans, which we don't. And yeah, we just stand there.
And how many people normally involved in this?
On our side, we're a small group. It's getting a little bit bigger, but to start with, I'd say it was probably about 7 people. Sometimes there might only be 2 of us. It just depends who's around at the time. I think the most we've had is probably 12 people, and they're all local residents, all a lot older actually. We don't seem to have the young people.
And tell me this, I think we've seen that at protests as well, haven't we? But tell me this. Normally, what's the interaction with the people that are running? Because there's normally a van and then there's a backup car as well, isn't there?
That's how it started off, yes. The van will be accompanied by a support car driven in. The people in the support car, there's 2 of them, 2 in the van, and they have the keys to the camera box. They obviously unlock that box, start that camera rolling, and then they normally go and park up somewhere else 5 minutes down the road.
Oh, so they leave the van unattended?
Yes, 9 times out of 10 they leave the van unattended, and they'll be parked up somewhere, and they could be there for half an hour, or hours. It all just depends. Sometimes they even park up and decide that they're not going to stop and then go. Don't know why. It's completely unpredictable. What started happening now is you will have an unmarked vehicle, and that unmarked vehicle is normally already parked up, hiding at the location where the vans go in. That's the problem. They're not in, and none of them are in uniform. So sometimes you can have 6 to 8 to 1 van. And who is security and who is a van driver? It's a little bit.
Are they not wearing any kind of?
No, and they all swap around, so they can go between driving the van one day to driving the support car the next to driving the unmarked. So you never know, and so therefore you don't know who is a van driver, whether they're employed by TfL, Capita, or they are actually Capita subcontract to a private security firm. We have no idea, and they all just wear plain clothes. They blend in like they look like us, apart from the people that actually have the keys to the camera. They quite often have high vis. They are always masked up.
They're all wearing masks now?
A lot of them do, yes.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, a lot of them will wear masks.
Initially that wasn't the case, was it?
To my knowledge from doing this, yes. It just depends, really. Doing this over the course of time, you get to know a lot of them. And I will say some of them are amenable and it's pleasant. Some of them seem like they're on a bit of a power trip, think that they obviously
tell me this, because we were speaking earlier and you said that you had tried to engage with them, and in some cases you'd actually tried to protect them.
Yes, I have. On 2 occasions I have actually stood in between the security and not anyone that we know, not a part of our group, who obviously have seen the van and come walking along, and you can tell that maybe they want to cause a bit of trouble, and I've talked them down and said, look, at the end of the day, no one wants this ULEZ. This camera's been blocked. No one's getting fined. We want to be seen to be peaceful because we want people to support us. We don't want people to be against us. And at the end of the day, do you want to get arrested for criminal damage? Is it worth it? No. And they
or
have
assault.
Or assault, and they have walked away. I think that's the thing that surprises me with these 2 particular security guys that I have backed up, that I have also seen them turn for no reason whatsoever, which is why I would always err on the side of caution, because they clearly do have 2 sides. It seems that they are becoming a little bit more antagonistic, that they're
Do you think that they've been instructed to do that?
I think so. So with the situation that happened at Buckhurst, before I got there was only 3 people blocking that van. Heather, her husband, and another guy who was extremely quiet. While they were there, someone else did join in and was asking them a lot of questions that they didn't want to answer. I do know from looking at the footage that there was one security there. He was in the unmarked vehicle, who I have seen many times and spoken to many times, and has most of the time been amenable. But there was one there in particular that I know is quite aggressive. And of course, if you've got someone there in that situation and you're on opposing sides, you know, it can be a bit fraught. And he did actually push this guy who was obviously asking him a lot of questions. And then some vehicle drove past, we have no idea who it is, and they sprayed expanding foam out of the window that hit the van, hit security, hit the peaceful bystander, and also Heather and her husband's car. So they called the police. The other security guy that I know, also to be amenable, who was covered in the expanding foam, was fair on both sides. He said, look, we're calling the police in because this couple's car has also, you know, had expanding foam sprayed on it, and it's criminal damage. So we are waiting for the police. I know that you weren't here when that happened. You've only just turned up, because the aggressive security guard almost accused him of doing it, and that upset him. And he was
accused who?
He accused the fourth guy that turned up, who was asking them questions.
Understood.
Unfortunately, he was asking the more aggressive security the questions.
And this fourth guy is unknown to you?
Yes.
Right. Okay.
I know of him, but not very well.
Okay.
So on those four people's part, it was peaceful.
Yeah.
The incident that happened with the expanding foam, we have no idea who that is. It was just some random vehicle. And this particular security, as I said, he has always said, we have peaceful protesters here. If there's been an incident, it's nothing to do with them. You know, at the end of the day, they're caught in that situation.
They're doing their job.
Well, the peaceful protesters, no, they're caught in that situation as well. But this particular security, he has defended and said it's not these peaceful protesters. That's what happened at Buckhurst. He was saying we're waiting for the police because this lovely couple he said lovely couple have had their vehicle damaged as well. I know he defended this guy against the aggressive security guy, saying, I know you weren't here beforehand, you arrived afterwards, so I know it wasn't you that had come along in a car and sprayed the expanding foam. And he said, okay, thank you, and that calmed him down.
So you were there, you were waiting for the police, then what happened?
Well, I turned up just after that. The security, out of the six that were there, two of them I knew. So one of them actually came over to my car. I was parked a little bit further away. I just pulled up, and he said, oh, hello, good to see you, how are you? And I said, you're talking to me today. I said, you ignored me the other day. He was like, oh, when did I do that? And I said, oh, so what are you doing here? I always say that. What are you doing here? And as we got out of the car, it was just a little bit of chatting, and then all of a sudden it was a little bit of a commotion, and the ULEZ van, was almost frantically trying to get out of there. In doing so, he, where the four obviously peaceful protesters were standing to the side of the verge, he kind of clipped them as he went past down the side of the van. That's how they ended up in the road, because it's a very narrow lane. It is two-way traffic, but it's very tight, and obviously as it's gone past, they stepped into the road, bang, saying, you've just hit us. I've turned round to the security that I was still talking to, and I said, you can't let them go. I said, they've just hit someone. I said, you can't let them go. With that, the support car erratically pulled out. Heather and a couple of them were standing in the road, because at that point the van's just driven off. Their backs are to the car. They've turned round, and the car is nudging its way through. And it's then hit Heather because she's more in the road. It's hit the other guy slightly because he's standing to the driver's wing, and he is banging on the window going, hey, what you doing? Stop, you're driving into us. That's when he's hit Heather on her legs, so she's sort of gone down onto the bonnet, her sign has, and she is shouting and screaming.
Of course. And
she's then turned away to try and get out of the way to the side of the road as quickly as possible, and with that the car just drove forward to just get away, knowing that she was kind of not out of the road, and that's when he hit her and knocked her to the ground.
How is she now?
She's not good. She's not good at all. She's really struggling. She can't work. She obviously cares for her husband. She has a farm. She's not tending to her animals. She's not able to cook. She can't get upstairs to go to bed, so she's having to sleep in a chair, and she's not getting much sleep. So it's really, really affected her. What I do know What I do know that what happened was they were 100% given orders to leave, because I heard the aggressive security say to one of the others, "We've been told to Foxtrot Oscar. That's the order." Now we know what that means. F off.
Yeah.
And I have since seen...
Because it's quite weird from the point of view where you were standing there having what appeared to be an amicable chat with the person and waiting for the police, to them then suddenly trying to drive the vehicles away.
And I've seen this particular security guy twice since, actually. But when I did see him, and I've gone through this with him, I said, when you approached my car and were all chatty like friends, you gave me no inclination whatsoever of what had gone on before, that this situation had happened. I said it was almost like you were just taking it in your stride. It was just a walk in a park, and you know, it was all fun and games. I said there was nothing to suggest that this had just happened and police were on their way, which I found quite shocking. I mean, he wouldn't answer me, and I said, you know, what is your actual job? He said, I'm here to protect the van and protect everybody. And I said, well, you didn't do a very good job. I said, because you just walked away and you were gone.
So where do we stand now? Is it being investigated? What's happening?
It is being investigated. Right. There is an investigation. I have heard that Heather has to sign some forms to ask for the driver's name, address and insurance details to be released. That's all I know at this point. I have had the police contact me about my statement, and the strange thing I found was she asked me if I knew Heather. Now, I didn't know Heather before this. I'd at that point, I'd had a handful of conversations with her. We're not family, we're not friends that socialise together, but I would class her as a friend now. I feel very responsible for her in a way, and like I need to do something for her. But when I said, yes, I do know her, and they said, so you've had conversation with her before this? And I said yes. They said that I'm now not an independent witness. I don't see how that's possible. Just because, I mean, where we live in Biggin Hill, everyone knows everyone. You know, you've probably spoken to everybody in Biggin Hill at some point. I've lived there my whole life. So does that mean that as soon as an incident happens, you're now not an independent witness because you've had a conversation with them previously? I don't understand how that works. But just going back to the order, I'm very shocked at that, because as I said, they are constantly in contact with whoever is in charge of them, which we don't know. Whoever they're directly working for, they are constantly in charge. You know, from the moment we turn up, they head count, they take reg plates, they're constantly on their phones. So they would have been very much aware of what was happening. They knew that they were waiting for the police. Obviously there was criminal damage, so they probably shouldn't even have left the scene at that point anyway, because police were en route, and somebody told them to Foxtrot Oscar. Just to say, obviously they did drive off. They fled the scene of a crime, essentially a hit and run, and I obviously did follow them and get them stopped, because my belief was...
Well, you followed them?
I followed them for miles, and I managed to get in front of them at a roundabout and stop my car and stop them from leaving until the police turned up. I was on the phone to the police the whole time. I stood in front of the van with a support car behind, and I would not let them leave because they were trying to get on the M25. So I'd followed them for quite some time on my own. And as I say, the police arrived and they separated us, and the initial response was that they were arrested for reckless driving and leaving the scene of the crime at that point. But my fear was, as I said to the police on the phone when I was giving locations and where I believed they were heading, which was the M25, I said, bearing in mind who they work for and the fact that, yes, okay, I've managed to get you the reg plates for both vehicles because I'm following them, they all switch vehicles all the time. So how do you know who the driver is? And I believe that it would get covered up. I thought if they got away, nothing will come of it. Because you won't get that information of who was actually there, who was actually driving. And I did say to the security when we got separated by the police to give statements, the security that was in the passenger that who had been amenable and had defended the protesters as well as themselves, I did say to him, do the right thing.
Okay, so just in closing, what would you advise other people that are engaged in peacefully and legally obstructing these cameras?
The only thing I can say is is just to be peaceful. I can't account for other people's actions. You know, at the end of the day, you're on a road. You know, you don't know who's going to turn up. You know, people come from all different walks of life and have different mentalities. So you've just got to be as peaceful as you can. And if anyone that you kind of don't recognise, it's like I say, you get yobs on the street all the time that just for the fun of it just like to cause criminal damage. You know, these people do turn up. You just need to take yourself back from that, take a step back, distance yourself from that van.
I agree.
You know, and
at the end of the day, we don't want anyone getting hurt. You know, this is not. It's just not worth it. You know.
And try be as amenable as possible. I recommend high vis jackets. Because obviously they are on the road.
Or a giant dinosaur suit, which is easily going to be seen, right? Claire, thank you so much for talking to us.
Welcome.
Please pass on our best wishes to Heather.
I will do.
And hope that I know that this is a really traumatic incident, and not just physically, but you know, emotionally as well. So please give her our best wishes, and hopefully we can get through this. And please keep us updated on what's going on. And thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you. Thanks.
Brown guy.
Hey there, tell me who you are.
My name's Paul Sullivan.
Where do you live?
I live in Bexley.
You were telling me earlier that you'd had some kind of an altercation or an incident. Can you tell me exactly what happened?
Yeah, so recently I was at a ULEZ mobile van with the CP security enforcers that come along with the van. I was dressed in the orange dinosaur
Excellent,
outfit.
right.
And I believe there was 3 of them at the van at this time. 2 appeared at some point in the evening when it was darker, so there was 5 at this point. And a couple of days before, I think it was, somebody had thrown a brick at one of these vans and broke the window in pretty much the same location. So I made a joke about it in the dinosaur suit and said, let's go to the front and take some before and after pictures in case the phantom brick guy comes back. No idea who he is, just one of these things happen. And as I went to walk past the van on the pavement, I was basically stopped by an arm. So I said to him, well, what are you doing? And he was trying to push me. And then I had my arm in a plaster cast which has just come off, but he grabbed my arm, twisted my arm, so I lashed out with my left hand to try and sort of push him away. Then I ended up getting tossed into the road.
Oh my goodness.
Basically on the floor, and at the same time it was either a knee or a boot that I got in the chest as well.
Really?
Yeah, I've got video of
So
it.
you were actually assaulted?
Yeah, the police were called and so was an ambulance,
Oh my goodness. So what happened then after that? When
obviously I was in a lot of pain and had to basically speak to 2 police officers. There was a lot of people sort of, you know, trying to get involved as well, so the police were trying to sort of pick out what had actually happened. And basically the footage that we have, you can kind of see what happens, but it doesn't show all of it. So the camera, body cameras that the close protection guys wear, they've asked, I believe, to see the footage from one of those that was basically up and, you know, in my face at the time. So, but until then, we're just waiting for that footage.
So the people that protect the cameras, they're wearing body cams?
Yeah, they do have body cameras.
Interesting.
From what I've seen, usually they work in pairs. At least one, if not 2 of them, normally have a body camera. They usually have it on record only when they feel sort of things are a little bit sort of dangerous, I suppose, or something may happen. But sometimes, you know, when you get to know them and you speak to them, some of them are actually nice guys.
So yeah, I was going to say,
they don't have it on.
Yeah, I was going to say that you must. So this wasn't the first time that you were protesting, I guess.
No, I've been doing this for a long.
So you got to know some of the guys. You've spoken to them.
Yeah, some of them are fantastic as sort of close protection. Some of them are absolutely fantastic, but then some of them are quite thuggish and push and shove. And you know, I've seen instances where they've spoken to sort of retired ladies that are in their 60s or older. They've called them horrible things you wouldn't, you just don't say to people. And obviously when they do this, they have their body cams turned off. You know,
what do you think is causing this or driving this sort of behaviour?
So, from what I understand, they are struggling for these protection staff. They've got adverts out there for a job. It's not specific to what it is, it's just locational. And then they're not even told what they're doing until they get there on the morning. So, lots of these guys turn up, do a day, maybe 2 days, and then they think, I'm not doing this anymore because it's morally wrong. And then they sort of don't come back. But you've also got some guys that have been there for like 8 weeks or so, maybe since the start of the vans, that have been out and about, and they're sort of more pushy, thuggish, and people that, you know, off camera they are absolutely disgusting. Some of the things I've heard them say I can't repeat, but and I've said these to sort of elderly people, older people, you know, people antagonised. It's disgusting.
So with your particular case, where is it now? Is it being investigated?
Yeah, it's with the police at the moment, and at the moment I'm waiting for a phone call back from Bexchief to basically discuss or whatever's the next steps are. But from my understanding, one of the guys there for the body cam footage, he's still waiting for the police to request that from him, and the police also said that they would request the footage from the body cam. To now we don't actually know where the footage actually goes.
Right. And what would you advise anybody that's engaged in this sort of protest now?
So if anyone's going to block a camera van, for example, always go with some form of recording, like a GoPro or a body cam. Always go with somebody else. And if it's too pushy or too rough, phone the police if you're being intimidated or assaulted. But otherwise, you know, go together, stay safe, and basically make sure there's lots of evidence there in case you do come into any instances as such.
Thanks so much for talking to us today.
No worries, thank you.
Brown car guy.
Simon, Howard, you've teamed up, the dynamic duo, and we've had a fantastic conference about ULEZ. What was the purpose of today, and how did it go?
It was two purposes. First of all, to do something different and unite people and get people to talk to each other, because they go on a demo and they don't get a chance to talk to one another and to ask questions and to see people who've been through the fight, learn those stories, because we all hear about it and we see it on social media, but hearing it in person is really important for people, and it makes such a difference to their understanding. And hopefully some of this will go online and social media, and the press will understand the things that have been going on. And this is really, really important.
And this is truly a cross-party collaboration. I mean, you know, you're Conservative, you're standing on behalf of Reform, but we've been able to come together today to discuss this issue that affects everybody.
Well, you're going to give credit to Simon. I mean, he's really put this all together and got people together. I've done nothing to do that. He invited me to attend a long time ago, and I was proud to attend, because there's nothing between us two here. We want to get rid of a dishonest mayor of London, and that's what today. People came today because you could see the passion out there, the people, how much they hate that man, and what we've got to do. At the end of the day, the London mayor should be representing the people of London, not representing themselves, and that's totally clear what's gone on currently with Sadiq Khan. And I'm obviously standing on a slightly different ticket with Susan Hall, and who knows what's going to happen. We've got 6 months to go. We can talk.
You've had an amazing effort that you've put this event together. All the things that you heard today, what's been the key takeaway for you?
The thing is, my takeaway is that don't let it drop. He can't be allowed to win. You know, when you hear the injustices that happen, you can't let that succeed. And yes, we you know, and I agree with Howard that, you know, Mr. Khan has not been economical with the truth, shall we say, to be being polite.
Much more diplomatic.
And he can't be trusted. He'll say one thing and do something else.
Exactly.
We know also from today that we've got to keep campaigning, because it won't be called pay per mile, it'll be called distance charging or something. They'll call it something completely different.
But we know it as pay per mile.
And it'll be pay per mile. And so we've got to make sure that is stopped. So this is important now, not just for the ULEZ, but also for the future, because people don't know what's going to hit them. Because we know he's, as has been said, he's a pathological liar, and will actually he'll say one thing and do something else.
Howard, not just as a mayoral candidate, but with your Fair Fuel hat on, a campaigner for the motorists. I mean, isn't this a message we need to be getting out there more and more? That it's not just about ULEZ. Eventually, this is hitting everybody in some form or another.
I couldn't have put the question any better than you just put it. You're absolutely right. Good news yesterday, Stoke-on-Trent got rid of their clean air zone. You know, and Jonathan Gullis, his MP up there, has become a good friend of mine. The simple fact here is that yes, this is going to come to a city near you, a town near you, and our whole lives have been controlled by a political elite that we didn't ask for. It's not in any manifesto. We did not ever ask for any of this to come to us. The car is a major freedom vehicle, sorry to use the pun, for all of us. And I'm frightened to death that unless we all stand up, that we've got 37 million registered drivers in this country. If we got all those together, and don't forget they all vote. You even seen it recently with the 2030 ban being moved back to 2035. That wasn't done for anything because they still believe in net zero. They're doing it simply because there's a general election next year. It's purely opportunistic. But you're dead right. We've got to get more and more people behind us. We need to work together, and Simon is very good at this.
By the way, that's just a headline thing, because the thing is, when you scratch below the surface of the 2030 thing, the allocations, the percentage allocations for the manufacturers are still happening. They're still going to
increase their electric vehicle production year by year. It goes right up to 80 and 100% by 2035.
That's right.
It's absolutely absurd, and no one asked for this. But watch this space. It'd be nice if actually the Conservative Party actually teamed up with Reform UK.
What are the chances of that?
Or Reform teamed up with the Conservative Party. I would welcome every Reform member to join the Conservative Party and change it for the better.
And where do we go from here, Simon, in terms of what's happening now with ULEZ campaigning? Because it seems to be a little bit, dare I say, a little bit, not as intense as it was before.
There does seem to be a bit of a lull, and I think that's two things. First of all, we're into darker nights and weather, and who loves going out in a wet day? Well, some of these people do, as you can see. But that won't deter us. There's one next week in Coney Hall, and I hope people will be there. And we will continue. They're not going to stop. It's really important that they continue, because I think the awareness is there. And when you do go on these things, look, outside you can hear the background, the horns beeping in support. And that's in fairness to the people outside who are doing a sterling job, and they will continue to do so. I think if you let up, and if you say we're defeated, then everything else will flow from that. And I, for one, am not in the position to do that. I just want to pick up on one final thing about the car. Not only is it give people freedom, you have to understand that it's Marxism 101. And the reason I say that is because ultimately, if you own a car, the Marxists believe property is theft, and therefore you shouldn't be allowed to own that. You should have what the state gives you, and nothing else. Now, I think most of us would agree that you need public transport in one form or another as well, but you can't just say, by the way, no private vehicles at all, because that is just elitist as well in itself. And a lot of these low traffic neighbourhoods, etc., tend to be people who say, I really don't like the riffraff coming down my street. Nothing to do with them. They just don't want it in their street, and then they find, the other street's got it as well. And it's like years ago there was road hump wars, and they've got road humps, why can't I have it? And you've got to look at this holistically.
That's right.
And that problem is that too many politicians are short term about it and don't look at things holistically. So
final word to Howard before that. I think I wouldn't mind if the state gave me a V8 muscle car, honestly, but anyway.
I'm with you on that one.
Chances of that zero.
So conclusion, wrap up from today, Howard.
Well, you asked what Simon took away from today. What I took away today was the passion still there. You saw it. All three of us saw it. And the simple thing is that we've got to keep that passion high. And this guy is doing a bloody good job in doing that. And I'm with him.
Well done, gentlemen. Thank you so much, and see you again soon.
Thank you.
Happy Christmas.
Brown car guy.
Hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please hit the like button and share this video as well if you can. And while you're at it, check out these guys who also sponsor my content. I am deeply grateful to them because it helps me to buy new equipment, put fuel in the cars, and yes, buy a cup of coffee. You can do the same. Just go here or right here on YouTube. Just hit these three little dots down here and click on thanks. Make sure you're signed in first. My content is free, but this is how you can help me keep it that way. I may even send you a gift. Oh, by the way, watch this next.